Never imagine the dimensions that this could.
I mean, you saw the interview.
Yeah.
He clearly not only was interested in Mexico, but he gives a sense that he's been in Mexico for a while, and I don't,
Yes.
actually, what was he
2016,
doing?
though, I think.
What was he doing? Do we have any sense who his clients are?
He was trying to grab information. Actually, what I know is that he goes to the countries are very important. For example, Mexico, it's a platform for Latin America.
Right.
Okay? So if you understand how to grab information from Mexicans,
right,
you can do it in the rest of Latin America.
Right.
So with PG and Mowisat, he was doing that.
Now, let me see if I understand this correctly. Alina, you told me that there was a company in Mexico that was developing an apps similar to what Cambridge Analytica used in the United States, in which they would obtain information, profiles from Facebook, which eventually had up to 15 million names coming up.
Yes.
That was then used by Cambridge Analytica for the electoral process illegally. There was an app being developed by a Mexican company that was supposed to do the same, obtain information, and Cambridge Analytica was going to use it for the elections. Is that right?
It's supposed, yes. The Mexican company is no longer in communication with this.
But come on, if they were developing the app, am I wrong, Javier? That app was developed last year. I mean, they would be developing it right now to get information from Facebook right now. That information, they would have needed it, I guess, sometime last year in order to be using it right now for the elections.
They were trying to do the same as they did in the UK and the US.
Right.
Okay. They were trying to to grab information from the users of Facebook, Twitter, whatever. So they were trying to do the same. The thing is that Facebook, right now, and in 2017, they don't give enough information based on an app. So they were trying to grab information from other places like Wi-Fi or some other applications, okay?
Okay, let me underline the Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
because we know that did happen in Mexico, right?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yes, there was, Cambridge Analytica had as a partner a company that was providing free Wi-Fi for different states, and we're assuming that it was through that service, providing free Wi-Fi, that was hired by by local governors, right? That local governments, right? It could be through there that they were obtaining the information that Cambridge Analytica needed in order for the electoral process. So maybe they already had the information.
Yes. Remember this. You can profile or target an audience based on the information, but you can have you can have a good idea. Remember that with internet, users in Mexico and in the UK and in Latin America or Europe are almost the same. Millennials looks the same in all over the world, okay? So you can have information based on profiles that you can take from the US or the UK, but the thing is that you have specifics from the country, okay?
Right.
The specifics, they were trying to get them from Wi-Fi and the apps in Mexico. That was the modus operandi.
But it's not only the data, sir, but I think what is interesting about this is that I was listening to the keynote he gave in Mexico, and the futurist thing about this is that data, everyone can have the data, you know, as in the phones or whatever. Big data is not made in one day. Facebook has 10 years collecting our data, so it's important to say that. And then he put a test to watch 5 different personalities. It was called Ocean because it was openness, consciousness, neuroticism, and other 2 I don't remember. But the thing is that when you have this psychological profile of the people, you want to see if people is open to make donations or to hear
But what they did with that information, which kind of seems a little wacky to me, is that with that profile they were able to define whether you were pro-Trump, whether you hated black Mexicans and black people, whether you were pro-guns. I mean, that's what I don't understand. I mean, the profiles are interesting, and I've seen those profiles on I wasn't on Facebook, also websites. I didn't realize what they were doing, but can they really how you're going to vote based on that, and actually use that information to be able to send very specific ads to me and María Salazar? I don't know.
Yes, because Facebook also put the emotions, the reactions, to say if you like it or you dislike it. But this is all data that can be used in whatever marketing thing you want.
Let me tell you something. I can make a profile
Right.
of a person based on their Facebook account. I don't know if I am inspired or you can look at their fears.
Okay.
That's the thing.
So you can invite. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So
Right.
if you look at, if you can understand their fears, you can target information to them.
Okay, let me ask you this, because going back to Mexico, so my guess, my intuition as an analyst is that someone already had compiled some type of information. We have about Mexican population, potential Mexican voters. Cambridge Analytica spoke 2 years ago about having Mexico as a client. Or having worked in Mexico, because there's this interview that was broadcast by Channel 4. We saw parts of it. When he was in the meeting here a year ago, he talked about Mexico and what, he didn't say what they were doing. But the bottom line, everybody's trying to find out who is Cambridge Analytica working with, one. Two, are they still working on the campaigns? And if they are, is that illegal? Is there something illegal about the way they're targeting Mexican voters for one or another candidate?
Propaganda is illegal.
Propaganda is illegal.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're communicating or putting information on the web, that's not illegal.
Okay.
But it's also illegal to buy the database of INE. It's not
Right,
it's not the
Actually,
same. So the data is still there,
Right.
if Cambridge Analytica is going
Right.
to use it or not.
Uh-huh.
The thing is that data is not going to be stopped, and the mixing it with psychological thing is it's dangerous.
So
but it's
that's
also,
why. So that's why Facebook is key here, because Facebook literally has to assume some responsibility in terms of
Zuckerberg has to
this
resign.
information. He has to resign.
Yeah.
You and I had a debate about this. I can't imagine. Yeah,
Yes,
we
it's a very
fight all the
controversial
time.
thing. I don't know.
But about this. But I don't think, can you imagine him resigning? Him and his wife own most of the stocks of that company.
Yeah.
But the data is still going to be there. I'm sorry, if Facebook Zuckerberg is not there, what is going to happen with data?
Right.
But
The thing is that you have to understand a new type of business for the
Right.
world, a new type of business model.
Right.
So what's gonna be? We're gonna find it in startups, because right now if we try to find it in Facebook or Twitter or Google, it's not gonna happen.
Okay, this is a difficult question, but help me try to answer it. When we watch those videos from Channel 4 of those undercover interviews with Nix, he basically he's supposed to be talking to a businessman from Sri Lanka who wants to hire him for the elections in Sri Lanka. It's a businessman. And when you think about the Mexican electoral laws, what would be illegal is if you hire Cambridge Analytica and you don't report it. Right? That would be illegal. You have to report to the National Electoral Institute all the expenditures for the campaign. So that part would be illegal. I have to assume that if Cambridge Analytica was hired, it wasn't hired through the campaigns. It was hired through a third person, probably a big business conglomerate, some business person hired Cambridge Analytica to help one candidate or another. How much would that service cost, Javier? What are we talking about?
Like $3 million or so.
Okay, so it's
For Mexico.
For Mexico. For Mexican presidential campaign or local campaigns?
No,
or all?
presidential campaign.
Presidential campaign.
Yeah.
So if it was like for governorship or something.
So, somewhere in between $2 million and one. Because remember that, for example, in Mexico, in the Estado de Mexico campaign.
Right.
Maybe they were working there, so maybe they pay Cambridge Analytica like $2 million or so.
Okay, so for the state of Mexico.
Yeah.
See, that's very interesting. In the state of Mexico, clearly there was a very strong social media, social network strategy.
Actually, it was the pilot, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the modus operandi is almost the same.
So the modus operandi right now is they have the information and they start targeting ads on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Where else?
Well, in Twitter there are the bots.
Right.
There's no, they don't pay for ads.
Right.
But in Facebook, yeah, they pay for ads.
Right.
And
Can you explain
Google,
say what a bot is?
a bot is an automated account in
That
Twitter.
keeps on sending out information.
Sending out information or putting information based on what a candidate wants or to attack another candidate. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, that probably the Cambridge Analytica thing is the more sophisticated thing, but most of the candidates are using influencers, bots, and memes. You know, this song about Niña Bien and whatever. So that is the actual strategy of a politician. The Niña Bien. You won't. But that is the thing. Most of the politicians here are not using the data in that level. I mean, and the thing that frightened me the most is that we are so easy to influence, because what Nick told me is that he showed the app, how they show it on Facebook,
right.
And it was just an image and saying the right message for you, because it gives you the reason you are right. So if you run a campaign saying that you, Ana María, or you, Javier, are right, you're gonna win. That is the key. It's not about the data. It's just giving the people the reason that you want to hear.
You both of you frighten me. Let me just tell you how frightened I am right now. I don't know. Now I understand why people are erasing their Facebook accounts. I mean, Facebook can predict much better what I'm going to do than
and just imagine what is going to happen in 10 years. They got 10 years of our history, photos, and the digital print.
Javier, any last comments?
The thing is that we're going to have to find new ways, okay? And I don't know if Zuckerberg has something to do or not. But the thing is that we're going to have to control our information.
Right.
That's going to be the future, or they're going to be a new Cambridge Analytica.
Promise me both of you come back. We'll continue this conversation. We've got to go to commercial break. I'm going to start drinking. I got to drink some coffee. I'm frightened. Let's go to break. Please don't go away. We've got much more ahead. I'm frightened. Don't go away.